CEO and MD of Rakuten Symphony India. Mr. Narayana developed cutting-edge telco products with over 25 years of experience, including roles at Nokia Siemens and OpenPeak. He focuses on leveraging technology for societal well-being.
Kushal Shankar Joka, our prestigious alumni, whom we are very delighted to welcome back. He is currently working at NK Square as the Founders Office Associate, keeping up with his commitment of working in a thriving entrepreneurial environment. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed panelists on stage.
Thank you, teachers. And now the floor is open for panel discussion. We request the panelists on stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome our splendid audience, organizing committee, and the star-studded panel to this discussion. As we start our discussion today, we are railing out of a funding winter. We have a hung parliament. We have reported a growth rate of 8% in GDP, and we might be falling into another funding winter. So I request all the students and aspiring entrepreneurs to take the most out of this session. To begin with panelists, we'll have 3 parts to this panel discussion. The first part would be more general in nature, open to everyone. You can pick questions that are more relevant to you and answer. The second one would be specific to each of you and your expertise. And the third one would be a fast, rapid-fire question round where you would quickly answer the questions on your toes. So if you're ready, we'll begin the question. Awesome. So the first question would be, all of you have hired for multiple roles in different organizations you've been a part of, and you've also seen the entrepreneurial ecosystem in India evolve into what it is today. So what do you think are the key common traits you found in successful business people as well as entrepreneurs you come across in your life till date? You can pick, anyone can pick up the mic and answer this question.
Can you guys hear me? Audible? So first of all, before I answer the question, amazing event. I really like all the pitches, right? So you guys have great future ahead. So thank you for arranging and asking us to come here.
Our pleasure, sir.
So a little bit about my background and to add relevancy to the question. So I've done 3 startups, 2 in US, 1 in India. And then I've done a couple of turnarounds where PE funds have hired me to turn around businesses. Now I'm with Rakuten Symphony in a corporate role. So when I hire, certain aspect of hiring, the common across, all this organization. The very first thing is, if you're hiring for a role where it requires experience, you want some kind of background in that area or adjacent area. And that's number one. That's a kind of filtering criteria. Then I go for people, what kind of attitude they bring to the table and are they a problem solver, right? Doesn't matter whatever your background is, given a problem statement, you should be able to reiterate the problem statement, then come back with a solution, and have a modus operandi to take a crack at the problem. In startup world, pitches are great. You really have to go keep pitching your ideas to people. But important thing is, you should be able to execute. And how do you execute? Your execution could be messy. And you should be able to get your hands dirty. So one of the criteria I look for people, and is that person able to get his or her hands dirty? And once you do that, then you realize that, oh, made this mistake and learn from the mistake and make the correction. So that's actually ties back to the first criteria, which is attitude, right? Do I have the attitude to look at the problem, reiterate the problem, and then come back with a solution and take a crack at the problem statement? And another criteria I look at people, how well you communicate. Can you communicate effectively? And this is something skill, you learn over a period of time. I'm still learning. What is effective communication? Communicate the right thing at the right time in a volume which the other person can't consume, right? So that's critical component which will make you successful, anybody successful. And I do believe these are the starting points I look at when I hire for somebody.
A very insightful answer, sir. Other panelists who have something to add could please go ahead.
Okay, a lot of times, when you are starting a company or when you want to start a company, right? Even when you're studying, a lot of people tell you to follow your passion, right? That's one of the key advice many people give, which is very important actually. But from my perspective, passion is kind of overrated, right? I mean, everybody has passion, everybody has ideas, everybody knows certain things. But what matters the most is when you actually start on something, whether it's because of your passion, whether it's because you want to make money, whether it's because you like some idea, not giving up in the midway is most important. Because 80 to 90% of the companies fail within the first year. Okay, a lot of people start the companies, first year, they're gone, right? So I think, because even when you start something with passion, right, there are things that you have to do that you don't like to do, okay? Because there are a lot of challenges that comes your way. So I would say, even though you like the overall idea, even though you love what you're trying to do, 75% of the things that you do, maybe you don't want to do, right? Because sometimes, as Partha was saying, right, you have to get to the ground and get your hands dirty. You have to do a lot of things. And many people think that when I start my company, I'm going to be the CEO of the company. I don't have to do anything. I just tell people what to do. That's not how it's going to work. So my biggest thing is, you cannot give up on things. You should continue to do things even when things get really, really tough.
Anything to add, ma'am?
Yeah. First of all, you have to believe in yourself. Sometimes the road ahead will be difficult, but you have to have that belief in yourself, and you have to trust yourself. Second is, you have to be persistent. You have to stick with it, as we call it in the US. You have to stick with it and persevere. But you also have to have that flexible mind to change the course if required. These three qualities, I think, are the qualities of great people and great entrepreneurs. And, you just have to follow the course and change if you need to. Otherwise, the most important thing is trust in yourself. Be persistent. That is very important. Thank you so much.
I believe grit, persistence, and structured execution are the common threads amongst all your answers. So with this, we'd move on to the next question, something that's in more relevance with the theme, that is the funding winter. What do you think are the common elements that any investor would look at while investing in a particular startup? From the top of your mind, you could pick up the most important factors you would look at while investing. He's the investor. Yeah.
Well, I think number one, definitely, the way the data that they are going to present is more important, right? I mean, a lot of times the ideas are great, strategy is great and everything. So today I was looking at some of the presentations. The numbers were missing, right? As an investor, for me, numbers matter, right? Your, the product idea is given, right? If you're presenting it in front of investors, that means you have thought through your product, you know what exactly you're doing, you have experience and expertise to do all these things. But at the end of the day, I'm more interested in how do you make money, Okay? When I say how do you make money, it's not that, okay, I'm going to make 10 crores in first year, 500 crores in the next 5 years and all that stuff. That doesn't matter. How do you make money? By selling the first product that you are going to make, right? Where are you going to sell it? Are you going to stand on the side of a street and sell it to somebody? Are you going to sell it in a store? Everything matters, right? If you're selling it on a street, then you don't have any expense, right? You're just going there, standing there and selling it, right? You may have to take permission from the government authorities, but no expense. But if you are going to sell it in a store, then there is a lot of cost involved. So as an investor, we look for, this go-to-market strategy. I didn't see a lot of go-to-market strategy in many of the presentations, right? Those are very, very important, okay? And those are the difficult questions that you are going to have to answer, right? Product idea, all those things are good things. They make you very, very happy. But then, hey, go and sell it, right? I recently had one person who came and said that, they're going to come up with custom, luxury clothing. And custom clothing is very, very good business actually. It's growing. It's really growing. We loved the idea. But the moment that guy told me that, they are going to make 10 crores in 1 year, it kind of, took us off the shelf, because 10 crore in 1 year is basically, even if you sell 50,000 rupees per thing, right? It's almost like, 1,000 or 5,000, something like that, right? So it becomes very, very challenging. So I say, show me the numbers in the execution mode.
So to put it simply, unit economics and focus on profitability from day one is the most important part of it.
Yeah, I would like to add to that from your entrepreneur perspective. This is what we teach in college for college students as well as high school students. We have these programs for them. Passion is one thing. That's great. I'll give you one example. The founder of there's a very, very successful in a venture capital firm in the US called Inventors Capital. And the gentleman who started that is by name Kanwal Rekhi. And he was in Bangalore about a month ago. And so we hosted him from Thai Bangalore. And he was sitting there, and we had 10 startups sitting across from us. And so he said, just tell me, give me a 1-minute pitch about your company. Each and every person who pitched started from, my passion is, my love is, blah, blah, blah. And he started shaking his head and laughing, and he said, just tell me how you will make me money when I invest in this. So the only one thing when you go to investment that you should remember, that I tell all the startups as well as students, is the investor is not interested in flowery language, is not interested in your passion, but he's only interested in, today I'm going to invest 1 rupee in this company, just to keep it simple, right? And I'm going to stay with you for 3 years. In the old days, it used to be 5 years. Now it is 3 years. I'm going to exit after 3 years. Can you give me 6x or more or better? If you don't have the answer to that, and you have to emphasize that in your pitch, if you don't have the answer to that, the investor is going to be very, very disinterested. So make sure you capture his attention and interest in your company by giving these facts.
Thank you, Geeta ma'am, for bringing this up. So let me demystify the ecosystem of funding a little bit. And this is based on my experience when I try to raise funds across the globe. So investors, who give you money, either VCs or angels, where do you think they get the money from? They take money from somebody else. Maybe, if it's a US, investor, most probably they might have got this money from some tobacco farmer, right? Who has a lot of surplus money to give away. Do you think tobacco farmer will be interested to know what technology you invest in? Most probably not, right? So he'll say, okay, I'm giving you X million dollars, and can you promise me 10%, 9%, something like that. So investors say, okay, fine, we'll do that. So they'll have a term sheet, that, okay, I'm giving you this money, and you go ahead and, get me my 10%, right? And they have a very, very solid agreement. The investor has to go back, deploy that money with startups, and recoup money. So what they look for, and usually again going back to experience, this is not theoretical knowledge. So very first thing they look at what do you call elevator pitch, right? Tell me in summary, what do you do, right? Now I don't care about the technology, but what is the product that you're selling or services that you're hawking, and how is it going to make money? So that's number one, right? To get a foot in the door. Once you get a foot in the door, they ask for what do you call business plan. So what is the business plan? What is my expense, right, month on month, and how is going to grow up next 2-3 years? And then second will be what is my revenue and what is my projected revenue, and then some proof that it has worked. I'm going to start a clothing chain. We had a brilliant presentation with the girls. I believe something like that will go big. But do I have a proof of concept? Did I make 10 pieces and sold that to all my friends and family, right? So people look for those kind of data points. So that's a business financial plan. It's important, but that's not the only thing. And after that, you come to business strategy, right? Okay, business strategy means who's going to look at the tech, who's going to do the sales, who's going to look at distribution. Is it going to be SaaS-based, where people come through browser and app, or I'm going to go sell this software or product, and that we go install in your house. So entire detailed strategy around that. Ideally you want to have some Word document, not pitch deck, Word document detailing each and every point of it. You might not present everything. So that entire detail should be there in front of you when you go to the investor. And last but not least, final is you should have a pitch deck. What is a pitch deck? It's a summary of everything that you want to do in not more than 15 slide decks, right? So usually you want to start with a pitch deck to investors, and they have a follow-up conversation. Then you can explain the PowerPoints and the Excel spreadsheet later on, right? So these 3 things you have to come back with, or 4 things: elevator pitch, entire business and financial planning, business strategy, and the pitch deck, right? So understand one thing, right? Why the investor want to give you money? Because he has picked up money from somewhere else, the tobacco farmer, and no matter what, where he deploys the money, he has to give back 10% back, right? So you have to establish that credential, and this guy will say, hey, I have to give back 10%, but this guy, I'm sure he's going to give me 20% back, right? So that's where how the pitching thing works. And then you might have heard this story. I pitched this to 140 people, or 100 people. So you don't get it right first time, right? So practice this over and over and over again, and keep pitching, right? And once somebody says no, don't get disheartened. Just ask, hey, is there something wrong in my pitch? What else I can improve? Now, do you suggest that, I come back with, some more improvements? So have that open communication channel. Investor doesn't mean, if he refuses to give you money, that doesn't mean that they won't give you advice, right? Just make sure that have the communication channel open, and keep repeat and rinse. I'm sure, that will work. And while you do that, don't neglect the business that you're going to do, the product that you're going to do, right? Just make sure keep working on that at the same time.
Thank you for breaking it down for us, sir. My next question is for Mr. Narayan. So as Ms. Geeta mentioned, at the end of the day, it's not the VC money. The VCs collect the money from someone else and they have to give them the returns. So is it okay for an entrepreneur to have a spectacular exit as a primary form of motivation, or should their passion for the product propel them? What do you think is a better form of motivation, a spectacular exit or their passion for the product?
I think for an entrepreneur, right, the passion, the most important thing is their product, right? For an investor, for me, I'm looking for the money. But if everybody goes after money, you won't be successful. especially if you are the one who's actually making the product, right? You should love what you're doing, and you should really, it's because when you love something you're doing, right, your strategies will become very clear. You will have clarity on what to do, what next to do, all those things. So somebody has to have that love and passion to do what they're planning to do, right? Then they should have a team who actually focus on, hey, how do we basically monetize what exactly you're trying to do, right? Whether it's, when I heard the, Happy Folk Club, right? It's an amazing, somebody is very, very, maybe they have their personal experience with their parents or grandparents or something. They really want to interact with, the senior citizens and stuff like that, right? But they should have a team member who understands their passion, but also knows how to monetize. Because if you're asking me 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs, look, I love my parents. I love when they get involved in activities like that, right? Great, I'll become a member, but if I want to invest 20 lakhs, I would rather invest that money in a polite business that they have, right? So, but if I have to invest in this one, somebody has to tell me from this business that, hey, this is how we are going to make money. So, I think as an entrepreneur, your focus should be the product, is what I say. But you should have a team who focuses on all the other aspects as well.
Got it, sir. Thank you for taking this side. I have a kind of a follow-up question to you itself. So normally VC investments are long-term, right? Three years to 6 years, or at times even 7, 8 years. How can a founder maintain that trust and the VC confidence in them throughout the tenure until they are invested in the company?
I think this is a very, very important question because, whenever people invest money, right, it's not just the idea that they are looking at, it's also the people they are investing in, right? They look at the people, are you presenting, your presentation skills and all that stuff is okay, but they assess you as a person, can I trust you, right? Because not all investments are going to be successful for any VC, right? The success rate is only around like 30% or 40%, right? So, but they're still ready to lose 50 to 60% of their money because they have put trust in that person. So what they expect back is complete transparency. Of course, your hard work need to be there. You have to work really hard to basically achieve what you want to do, and you have to make sure that you are going according to the plan. But transparency is very, very important. Every stage you go through, if you are making losses, you have to basically present it to the investors. So from my personal opinion, the way I trust somebody and invest in them is how transparent they are, how I can trust them. Even if it becomes a loss-making business, it's okay. But we have worked together, we have built that trust.
Got it, sir. Thank you for that. My next question is to Mr. Parth. As much as we love Bangalore's weather and the food here, I think what made Bangalore, Nama Bangalore, is the IT industry. I don't think we would have been at this stage without the IT sector. Also, surprisingly, IT forms 42% of India's exports abroad. So, as someone from deep in the tech sector, what do you think are the revolutionaries happening right now? Where do you think is the money going in the IT sector, especially in the entrepreneurial IT sector?
No, first of all, in today's ecosystem, business ecosystem, every sector is a technology sector. So you can't say this business is in technology system. So be it transportation, be it healthcare, be it telecom, of course things like e-commerce and all that. So couple of key trends I see is emerging, and India, a lot of investment is coming in India, which was not the case earlier, right? Very first thing is the entire concept of connected cars, EVs, and the entire ecosystem around it, right? I see a lot of traction around that. So battery technology is going to be a big one, and that doesn't mean only making the battery, but you have to go down the path and figure out the material which goes in the battery, the entire ecosystem of mining, producing a supply chain of the entire commodity that goes in the battery. So that's number one. Second is, how do you have the distribution channel of those batteries, right? I have 20 models of cars or 50 models of cars. How do I make sure this battery fits into each and every car? What would be my, so very soon, I'm sure in 5 to 10 years, you'll start seeing this, petrol bunks will go away, right? You'll have battery centers in the same location where you drive in your EV and swap out your battery and swap in your battery, right? So think about the entire model. Then, the model, the way it is emerging, these are not going to be isolated cars, right? So most probably your car will say, hey, you're, at, 30% battery level and you can drive on this for another 2 hours, current speed and current traffic. You might want to go to this battery center Majestic and get it exchanged, right? So this kind of technology will emerge. So there's an entire segment of industry and investments happening in that area. I can go on. You can imagine that the elements of artificial intelligence will embed in this. So artificial intelligence is not going to be industry by itself. It's going to be like English. It'll be like C++ programming. So it'll be embedded everywhere, right? So if you are not doing artificial intelligence either as a programmer or an end user or as a facilitator, then you will miss out in a big time. So and of course another area, I'll stop here. Last area is healthcare, right? So the cancer detection is one area. Another one area is going to be in the entire how do you do home care of people, because it's not feasible and possible to have everybody coming to hospitals. So technology is actually getting embedded into all these domains.
Got it. Again, a follow-up on the same question, sir. I think moving up the value chain, products that are up in the upper level of the value chain, especially in tech value chain, are going to be more valuable going further. And if you look at it right now in the semiconductor industry, in India, we're opening plants to assemble semiconductors, whereas China is very highly manufacturing them. And I don't think we're there yet to manufacture semiconductors in our country. So how do you see moving up the value chain, especially Indian startups right now? There's one AI company at the end of every street in central Bangalore. How important is it to move up the value chain, and how do entrepreneurs sitting in this room go about doing that?
So I'll park the semiconductor, question. That's a very tough one, and it requires 2-hour discussion on that. I was involved in supply chain of semi while in US, and I understand a little bit of how complex the market is, and so I'll park that. But let's talk about the ecosystem of, take example, AI companies, right? So the very first thing that you start thinking about, and this is a long-term problem in the industry, you have to have the mindset of product mindset, right? So what is the product mindset? Product mindset is I'll do it once and then sell it to millions, right? Without having to do any kind of customization. If a customization has to be done, the product should be customized by the end user, right? So that mindset has to come in place. Second is, don't always think about the technology play. I'm saying this as a technology person. Think about what is the final use case that you're solving, right? In case of if you are building AI implementation, it could be AI like edge AI or doing AI on the distributed AI. You can do that framework and put it out there, but how are you going to sell that? So answer is that, hey, using edge AI, I'm going to solve your transportation problem. Or using edge AI, I'm going to go to your factory, make sure your machine are auto-configured, right? So moving up the value chain means solving bigger problem to the business, right? So people are doing it, but people here need to start thinking about this end use case which customer will pay money for, not just the technology.
I'm sorry, I'm making you talk a lot, but to double click on that, you mentioned that you need not focus fully on AI, but on the use case rather, which throws light on the topic where at times tech founders can't easily communicate the technology behind the product to the investor. Do you think there's this communication gap between tech founders and the investor, generally speaking?
Yeah, communication gaps are everywhere, but good tech founders, they communicate the problem statement very well, right? You should be able to say, this is you should first talk about the problem that you're solving. And then, technology or a process that comes, after you explain the problem that you're solving, right? So whether doing it or not, right or wrong, I don't know. But, the good founders do that. Good founders, good people, what they do, they explain the problem statement, give a solution, and show a roadmap how that can be solved. The reason you don't want to go jump onto technology immediately because technology landscape will change every 6 months. So technology that you're proposing right now might just go ahead and change. The particular protocol that you want to propose might change 3 years down the line. So the key is to talk about the problem statement and give the solution and give a roadmap how you solve that.
Got it, understood. To help others comprehend, basically you told us that the use case should be the North Star and the technology should be the execution tool that help you reach the North Star. Am I right?
Yeah, especially for business problem, right? So since you talk about semiconductor industry, the use cases in semiconductor industry are technical enough, right? So how my silicon talks to the upper layer, right? That is my use case. So use case doesn't always mean the end user business use case, but the problem that you're solving, you should be able to communicate in a very clear manner, and then follow implementation.
Thank you for giving us a deep dive, sir. Now we'll move on to Ms. Geeta. Ma'am, I was pretty impressed by your introduction, your association with TIE and establishing a branch in Boston. So, in your experience interacting with the founders, in your experience working with startups, what do you go with, funded or bootstrapped? What would be your go-to option?
It's kind of a difficult question or difficult answer I'm going to give. I'm going to give a illustration of a story, right? How many of you know the organization called TIE? How many of you can raise your hand, right? Not many of you know. The TIE, the word TIE, T-I-E, stands for the word Indus is split into India and US, right? This was started by 3 Indian Americans who are based in Silicon Valley, and they were already successful entrepreneurs. How did it all come together so that you will know how to explain, the proof of the passion that you have, the dream that you have, right? So these 3 guys met in the airport, and they were there to receive a dignitary from India. And the flight was delayed by 1 hour, so they sat together for a cup of coffee. And there, they introduced themselves, and they found 3 problems. One is they're all Indian Americans settled in Silicon Valley. Then they have very, very successful companies of their own. Third thing is they didn't know each other. They came together in the airport to meet this gentleman. That's how the organization, the light bulb hit them and said, why don't we have an organization? There are thousands of Indian Americans like this in the US. Why don't we start an organization so we can all come together and support each other? So that's how TIE got started. Then, a couple of years later, they had a conference. They invite a gentleman from Boston. Imagine, Silicon Valley is on one end of the country, Boston is in the other end of the country. And this is Dr. Gururaj Deshpande. I'm sure you must have at least heard of his name. Just to give you a reference, he's the brother-in-law of Mr. Narayan Murthy, Infosys. So Jayashree Deshpande and Sudha Murthy are sisters. But Desh is settled in the US, and he studied in the US in the area of mobile technology, right? So he got invited there to Silicon Valley, and he says, he was a keynote speaker there. So there, another light bulb, right? So he said to them, every time you sit in Silicon Valley and invite everybody from all over US, it's going to be difficult for everybody to come. So why don't you open up offices in major cities in the US? And to demonstrate that, he opened up the second chapter in Boston. We call it as TIE Boston. And he hired me as the executive director to run this chapter in Boston. I come from a medical technology background, which is diagnostic medicine. I studied in Northeastern University in Boston. And he is telling me to run an entrepreneur organization. And I literally had to look up the word entrepreneur in the dictionary before I joined. And then I asked Desh, what do you want me to do in this organization? And he goes, just open up an office and run it. So we opened up an office in Boston, started running it, and we have, of course, a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and especially in the healthcare industry. As you know, Boston is the leading city in US for healthcare sector. And so we started. And today, Thai is the largest Indian entrepreneur ecosystem in the world, right? And so I'm so fortunate today looking back, and of course to have Desh as one of my mentors and my advisors. I thank God every day for this, right? And so this is how organizations happen. Technology is not the only thing that leads to this, and this is how the organizations happen. I'll give you one more small example in a half a minute. That is, in 2005, my son was in high school, a lot younger than you guys are. He was 15. And he comes to me and he says, Mom, I don't want to follow the footsteps of my late father, because he lost his father when he was 7 years old in Boston. And I don't want to be a doctor like him. I want to be an entrepreneur. And I have an idea. Can Thai help me take this idea to the next level? Then I took this idea to Desh. And Desh said, let's start a program. So we started what is called as Thai Young Entrepreneurs. We teach 8, 9, 10, and 11 grade students in the high school about entrepreneurship. We have today, moving forward, Desh has given a very, very good testimonial. It's the longest leading learning program in the Thai ecosystem, 20 years old. And so we have impacted thousands of students, high school students. Hundreds of companies were started by high school students. Yeah. So there is really no way of saying only technology will do this. Only non-technology ideas will do this. You just have to follow your passion. Find the right people, of course. Find the right people to guide you and mentor you, and you can achieve great heights in life. I can tell you hundreds and hundreds of stories. And but to make your point, follow your passion. It's not just technology. It can be non-technology also that can lead to success in your life.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we're coming back to a round of applause, please. So, ma'am, we have something similar. You made entrepreneurship teachable through Thai in the US. In SJCC, we have a BB entrepreneurship program, a 3-year degree in entrepreneurship. What do you think are the crucial elements that go into making entrepreneurship teachable? What exactly do you focus on, be it the skill set or be it the practical knowledge that is being taught through Thai, through the Young Entrepreneurs Program?
But the way we do the teaching is, entrepreneurship is more like foreign to college students or high school students, because they are more geared towards the advice of their parents that you have to grow up, you have to graduate and get a good job and run your family, right? So in order for us to introduce the entrepreneur program, we do an awareness program like this. Get together with all the students, whatever grade students they are, and we bring in successful entrepreneurs like we have here, investors and all that, and we just give them an awareness program, and this is what you can dream about, right? And so then students, we let them sign up. Believe it or not, they go to their parents and they convince them and they say, I want to join this program. And so we have thousands of students who have gone through this program around the world. As I said, several chapters they participate in this program. And privately also, through my company, Giga, we also provide this program privately. And great companies and startups have come out of this. So to answer your question, there is really no formula to excite students, either in college or in school, to inspire them. It has to come from here, and here, of course, we will help this thing. As you saw, these two ladies who had this program for, petite women, it really touched me so much because I am a petite. And I have had this problem ever since, I'm a teenager. And I could see that. I could relate with them. And today, I and my friend who was sitting with me, Vinay, we were saying this has a potential to grow to $1 billion business. Just by listening to them. It's all about what you are doing that takes it forward.
Got it. Thank you for that, ma'am. So to move on to the last question, before we move on to the rapid question fire, right now, one of the primary problems that Indian entrepreneurs are facing is TAM, total addressable market. That's basically what is the maximum number of people or customers your product can reach to. And as people would have heard, there's India 1, India 2, and India 3 based on the income. And right now, almost all the entrepreneurs are solving for the India 1 because it's practically impossible to monetize India 2 and India 3. How do you think entrepreneurs who are keen on making impact than making profit can solve this India 2 and India 3 problem, monetize them, bring them on board as customers?
What do you mean by India 2, India 3?
Got it. Right. Sure. So India 1 is the top 10% of the population with more than 8 lakhs as the household income per annum. India 2 would be 4 lakhs and above, and India 3 is less than 2.5 lakhs per annum for the household. So right now the issue is that more than 1 billion people fall into the India 3 category and less than 200 million people fall into the India 1 category. Every entrepreneur is aspiring to solve a problem are solving for the 200 million, not the other 1.5 billion. So how can we increase the scope of people for whom we could solve problems for?
Let him talk, but I have an answer.
Sure.
I think, the category of people, different category of people will have different needs and wants. So it depends on what kind of business you get into. People who are making 8 lakhs and above, they have maybe extra money to go and spend, buy more clothes and stuff like that. But people who make somewhere between 2 lakhs to 8 lakhs, they have a different needs, right? But the population is more, right? So the kind of business is, in the smaller category of population, right? You have higher profitability, but you have lesser market size. But as you go down, the market size is big, and your products can be sold really, a lot, but at a lower profit margin, which matches the requirements of low-income people. So it all depends on what kind of business you are doing and the category of people that you are targeting. It's not that, you can't do business for tier 2 or tier 3 category of people, right? There are, we were talking about that eco system product that we were talking about, right? That is a very huge potential, right? You just 1,500 rupees or something they invest, and it's not a big deal now, 1,500 rupees, right? You invest and you make even a small amount of profit. It is equivalent to basically targeting the higher income.
This is the best question I have ever had so far. So I'm excited to answer this question. There was a gentleman by name Dr. Late Shri C.K. Prahalad, and he was a professor in Michigan University. And we respect him a lot because he wrote the bylaws for the Thai organization, right? And he always was focusing on the bottom of the pyramid. If you take the India population, right, like a triangle, bottom of the pyramid, he always focused on that sector. And he said there are, I think his number was something like 400, correct me if I'm wrong, 400 million people in that population. They also need to be served. They also need to be served in a way that they can afford any expensive thing that even a rich person can afford. What did he mean by that? Is he said, take pickles, right? Pickles. Instead of selling it in a bottle, just sell it in a sachet. And each sachet of the pickle is 1 rupee, right? So he gave these kind of examples. What is it? Ice cream candy bar can be sold for 1 rupee rather than something else. So he gave these examples. That's how the sachet business started in India. And I was just standing in a store where I was buying something, and there was this girl standing next to me, and she was buying these sachets. Give me 10 shampoos, give me 10, something else, right? And I was wondering why she's ordering so many, and I saw they're all sachets. Then I remembered CK. I said, well, CK's words are still working now, you know. So that is what you need to look at. If you are looking at any population, can they afford it? So today we go buy big bottles of shampoos, right? But those people cannot afford it. But they have the right to use it. Let's not forget. So let's make it convenient for them. And we did a program in a village under Tirupati. It's a village program under Tirupati about this entrepreneurship. Then we had a business plan competition at the end of the program. These teams came up with solutions which is in their own neighborhoods. They didn't go for big cities or they didn't go for big technology, big ideas. One team said, the restaurants around the bigger cities around us, they waste a lot of food. What we want to do is, we want to gather that food, repackage it, and give it to our poor people. He's already poor, in that village, and he's thinking of a poorer person than him. Can you believe that? I literally fell off my chair when I heard that. Another kid had the same similar solution for pure drinking water. Then I asked them, where do you get your water? What is your resource? They said, we get it from the river, and it's already polluted, ma'am. So we want to give pure bottled water to our people. So think of the problem and solve that problem. You don't have to be a billionaire. You don't have to become. Infosys started that way. You know how Infosys started? The Narayan Murthy, Nandan Nilekani, and Shibulal, all three of them made 5 trips to US. 5 trips to US. They started marketing their outsourcing, ideas to US corporates. Then one night, they were so tired after meeting 5 or 6 corporates. No clients so far, right? Nobody bought their idea. They were sitting in the hotel room, in Narayan Murthy's room. Guess what? Sudha calls. Sudha Murthy calls. And Narayan Murthy says, good evening, Sudha. And she goes, what do you mean good evening? This is morning for me. Light bulb. Next day onwards, they started telling the corporates, we are going to provide the solution from India. When you are sleeping, we are working. By the time you come to your table tomorrow, we will have a solution. That's how Infosys grew, right? This is outsourcing solution, overnight solution from India. And I'll leave you guys with one thing. The entire United States, the investors in the United States, they are looking at India to invest. Don't forget. You should feel proud of yourselves, right? But you should give them the right idea to invest. We are there to help you, all of us. Thank you so much.
You can go ahead, sir.
So I talk about this India 1, India 2, India 3, right? So you need to understand one thing, right? What do you make today for the so-called rich people? 2 years down the line, that particular solution will be used by really people who are poor. Maybe, Geeta ma'am and Naren, you'll remember, back in India in 90s when the phone came in, it used to cost around 15 or 20 rupees to receive a call. Forget about making a call, right? And cell phone used to be, those clunky phones used to be so expensive. So now, phone call is given. The poorest poor has a phone, right? So any innovation that you make today, if it makes somebody's life better, brings the price point down, that will percolate down to the lowest level at some point. So always think about that, right? So it'll be and what's going to happen? Are you going to make less money if price comes down? No, because more and more people will be using it. So that economics is the fundamental economics. If you do something now and less number of people use it, prices are high, but it percolates down, more people are going to use it. So ultimately, it benefits the society.
Thank you so much, panelists. This has been a very insightful conversation. By all means.
Now that you have learned a little bit about entrepreneurship, how successful people have become successful, how many of you in the audience, you're all college students, right? How many of you are interested in at least exploring entrepreneurship? Nitish, there you go. Yeah.
This is the BB entrepreneurship class now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But at least they have to be interested, right? Yeah. Right.
On that note, thank you for being a part of this conversation to all the panelists. I'll hand over the session to the MCs to take over from here. I'll escort you down the dais.
Thank you, panelists, for the insightful and knowledgeable session. We will now be having the prize distribution ceremony. I request Ms. Renzi Alex and Mr. Nitish Kashyap to announce the winners.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for being a part of our startup pitch event, Pitch Point today. We had some very innovative ideas, and I would like to congratulate all of you who have presented, who had the confidence to come up on stage and present your pitches. We would also like to thank you for doing the same. Yes, and Mr. Nitish, Mr. Naren, and the department, we are very happy that you came forward, and we're extremely proud of all of you. We had wonderful concepts being presented to us, and I would like to congratulate each team for having the courage to pitch your visions. So now we have the prize winners. Mr. Nitish will lead you.
Before the winners, one thing that I would love to share, one thing that everybody in the front row here will agree with me, is each one of you did a fantastic job. Give yourself a big round of applause for that. So all of us, to be very, very honest, we had an extremely tough time. So we thought it's going to be a cakewalk, choosing one or two winners and runners up. So, but we were absolutely left spellbounded by the kind of efforts, kind of pitches that came up and presented. It was not just the ideas that were presented, right? It was also the confidence with which you presented. It was also the clarity of thoughts. And it was, again, end of the day, it was not just ideas. So it was many people who have built proof of concepts, who have done stuff on the ground. So that is something that has moved all of us in that direction. It was again very, very difficult. Each and every startup has done a great job. If you're not a winner today, again, please understand, it's a very, very thin margin. And please understand, there are only fines, very, very small things that you need to probably change with certain aspects. It could be business plan, it could be ideation, it could be certain things where you have to just reshuffle it. to make your pitch possibly the winner, possibly the successful one, and that will definitely happen in the next time. So for this time, for Pitch Point 2024, we will start with a special mention first, and then we will go upwards because we have a special mention, runners-up, and then the winners. So I think we'll start with the special mention. That was not at all planned, by the way, but these guys were really exceptional that we had to mention them. So we are giving it away for special mention. Ma'am, Rinsi ma'am, over to you, the special mention.
Special mention goes to Happy Folks.
Happy folks, guys. People loved your pitch. People loved everything about you. The only reason why you're only a special mention is because you are charitable. Otherwise, trust me when I say this, your business is amazing. Okay, fantastic. And then moving on to runners-up.
So can you all guess? Runners-up? Huh?
Okay, runners-up. Anybody for RGM? Anybody for Econet? Okay.
So
Anybody for PA Lead? Anybody for WeGather? Okay, runners-up.
runners-up is Econet. And I request the participants to please come up on stage. I would like to tell something about this group. First of all, I'm very proud because they're from my class. And Econet Solutions impressed us with the innovative approach to addressing environmental challenges while also creating a viable business model. Their idea of establishing a marketplace for carbon credits has the potential to make a real impact in reducing emissions globally. At the same time, creates an opportunity for entrepreneurs and businesses to generate returns by trading credits. Now I would like to request Mr. Naren to please present the runners-up with their award. On behalf of the entire panel of judges, I would like to congratulate Econet team for being the runners-up in this competition. We wish them the very best and look forward to following their progress.
Okay, and time for winners. Any guesses?
You all are correct.
Okay, can we have a louder guess, please? Because where are you guys?
So this wasn't an easy decision, but after careful deliberation, the judges have chosen the winner, children. So the startup idea that stood out the most and showed the greatest potential for impact and growth is P Elite. So I would like to invite Ms. Geeta to present the P Elite with the winner's prize. I would like to say a few words about them. P Elite impressed us with their novel solution to provide clothing options for all body types by designing for unique sizes, often neglected by mainstream brands. They are addressing a clear gap in the market. Their passionate founders understand the need for both research and personal experience. So on behalf of the entire panel, I would like to congratulate P Elite team for winning the startup pitch competition. So we believe in your vision to make fashion truly inclusive. All the best with your exciting journey ahead.
I want to add one more word of excitement for you both ladies. In addition to giving you the prize, I'm going to be the first investor.
So thank you again, children, all the teams for being here today. So you all represent the innovative entrepreneurial spirit driving progress. Please join me in giving our winners one round of applause. Thank you.
Congratulations to all the winners. I will now call upon Ms. Vaishnavi Kandachar, our event director from Number Leader, for the vote of thanks.
Innovation is seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. So, good afternoon, everyone. As we conclude this extraordinary Pitch Point event, I'm filled with immense gratitude and excitement. What an inspiring morning it has been, witnessing the innovative ideas and boundless creativity of our young entrepreneurs here at St. Joseph's College of Commerce. First and foremost, I extend our heartfelt thanks to all the participants. Your passion, dedication, and ingenuity have truly shone through your pitches today. Each of you have brought something unique to the table, and it has been an absolute pleasure to see your startup ideas come to life. To the panelists, Ms. Geeta Ramurthy, Mr. Naren, Mr. Partha Roy, and the moderator, Mr. Kushal, your insights, expertise, and encouragement have been invaluable. The sneak peek into your mind has been truly inspiring. We also thank the investors, enablers, and tech leaders, and everyone presiding over this event for your presence and your contributions. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Charles Lazardo and Vice Principal Dr. Veenu Joy and HOD Dr. on the groundbreaking ideas that were presented. We also extend our gratitude